Greetings, welcome back to Laboratory Learning Solutions. We are now going to talk about the methodology and tools that we are going to use in our Kaizen event. So within the Kaizen event, we're going to use a variety of methodologies, and we have all of these methodologies available to us. So the first one that we can consider is plan, do, check, act. And this is coming up with your problem, brainstorming some solutions, and then doing something. So putting a small pilot into place, checking to see if that small pilot was successful, and then if it wasn't successful, we're going to go and we're going to act. So we'll go back and we'll revise, we'll review and revise, and then change whatever it needs to be changed so that Kaizen event or that problem is successful, because we want to accomplish an outcome that is positive. From our data that we collected, we want to be able to eliminate that problem from happening, or we want to improve that process. So the next is Six Sigma methodology. We can use the DMAIC methodology for our process or for a Kaizen event, and we're going to talk more about that. But that is called DMAIC, which is define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And then we can use the A3 problem-solving method. Now, this is the scientific method. We teach a course in this, and this I highly recommend for your improvement methodology because everything is there. All the details are there, and we're going to talk about this A3 and how we can use it and how it will be instrumental to our event. So the Shewhart cycle or the Deming cycle is another term for this plan, do, check, act. And Walter Shewhart created this. So whenever you hear the Shewhart cycle or the Deming cycle, it is plan, do, check, act. And Dr. Edwards Deming was a statistician years ago that went to help Toyota after World War II. And since he was a statistician, his improvements were all based on removing variation, identifying what the problem is, and then going through a methodology in order to eliminate that problem. So plan, do, check, act then. This is a process for quality improvement. We are going to identify what the change is. So what did the team decide? What is the data that is available? And sometimes we can't retrieve the data that we first intended on, and we maybe have to settle for another piece of data. So this is why I always mention in the beginning, think about the data. As soon as you think about your problem, think about the data that you're going to collect, because sometimes it's not available. So we have to have a backup plan to retrieve other data that will help us along the way. The second step is to conduct that small pilot. And as we said, come up with, what can we do to implement this process to eliminate that problem from happening? And this we can do in a form of a small pilot. Now, when we go in and want to change another department, or we want to change a process, and we tell the department that we want to change a process, that doesn't go over well. But if we say that we're going to pilot it, and we're going to pilot it based on the problems that we're having, and we can show what that data is, then people are pretty good with, okay, well, we can conduct a pilot. And then the next is we're going to observe the effects. And by observing the effects, this means that we're going to collect the data again to see if that data changed from our original data. It's the same data. We're just going to collect it again at this point while we're observing the effects of the change. Then we're going to repeat step one. So what did the team decide? Now we have knowledge. Are we still on the same path? Is it still working well? And then we go on and we identify what that problem is. And if it's working well, then we're going to watch it and then change it or tweak it. Then based on those results and based on that data, we can go ahead and modify. We will watch it, we'll modify, and then we'll continue to watch it. And then if it continues on to be successful, then we will go on to another Kaizen event. And this will be one success for us. So once you get a success here, make sure that you have documentation of all the success, because this will be your improvement for your team, and that you can demonstrate that to leadership. Also, DMAIC. Now, this is a data-driven quality strategy for process improvement. This is an acronym for define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And it's very, very similar to plan, do, check, act. So we're going to define what our problem is. We're going to define our objectives. We're going to measure. So we'll collect the data and then we'll measure whatever that problem is. We're going to analyze. So we're going to check just what we talked about in our Kaizen event. We're going to brainstorm. We're going to analyze what is going on. What is the process? Let's look at some process steps. What can we do as far as root cause analysis? And then we're going to improve. We're going to put a pilot into place, and we're going to watch that pilot, and then we're going to control it. Now with Six Sigma or DMAIC, we want to make sure that when we control it, that means that we're handing off this project to the people that work in the department. And we want to be able to have controls in place to hand that off. So whether that's a control plan or whether that is a procedure for the new process, or, and we train the department on this new process. So control, sustain is the same thing. So we want to be able to sustain that process from the change that we made. So that is Six Sigma or DMAIC, and it's all data driven. So we also have the scientific method of A3. So we can brainstorm solutions and we can document them by the scientific method. Now, this is a method by the Toyota Production System. This was a one-page report, and they used to fax these 11 by 17 pieces of paper to plants. So within plants, that was the largest paper that they could fax. So they called it an A3. And if you go to the printer and go down to 11 by 17, it is called A3. And that is the scientific method of problem solving that started with Toyota. So this is an A3, and I know this is an eye chart. This is complicated. There's a lot going on here, but I just wanted you to see what an A3 looks like that you can develop on your own. So in your Kaizen event, you could use this A3. We can come up with the problem statement. We identify what the current condition is, all the details of the current condition. You can put all of your process maps. You can create anything you want to put in that spot. You can do some analysis, like, why did this happen? We have these 5 whys. Why did this happen? Well, why did that happen? We can rank what all those issues are. We're going to come up with a target condition. We're going to select a solution. We're going to create a future state, put together some actions, and then standardize and sustain. And it's just like plan, do, check, act. It's the same as DMAIC. It's just called something differently, but we're going to accomplish the same goals by going through a methodology step by step in order to come up with solutions that we can implement. So if you have any questions about any of the tools that we talked about, feel free to reach out to me and I will get back with you. So those tools, you'll have them on this presentation and you can use them. So I encourage you to use those tools. I will give you all the forms that I have that you can use for those tools, and you can utilize those in your Kaizen event. So you can collect the data, analyze the data, and present the data by any one of these tools that you learn in this course. So if you have any questions, please get back with me and I will answer your question. So our next lesson then is methodology and tools, part 2, more to come. We'll see you there.